Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross from PTCGRadio, and just in case you haven't heard enough of my voice recently, I am back finally with my top 10 cards of Roaring Skies. Now, I do like to get these videos out pretty soon after the set is released. I was a little bit late this time round because I was uploading the videos from the Roaring Skies legal tournament, the Doncaster Winner Box, all of which can be found by having a very quick look through this channel, and also going off to Nationals and preparing the videos. For those people asking, the videos from UK Nationals, at least 10 rounds from that lovely tournament, will be on my YouTube channel starting in the next couple of days. But first, let's have a look at the top 10 cards from Roaring Skies. First things first, a couple of rules. We don't have many tournament results for this. So, now, I actually made the list before there were any tournaments. We have now had a couple of tournaments. I've only made one quick tweak to the list. I'll tell you what that is as we go through. Another thing you've got to remember is that this is a list done straight after the set has been released. We don't know how good these cards are going to be. The classic example of this is Celebi EX. When this came out in the Heart Gold Soul Silver Triumphant set, everyone thought it was absolute garbage. It was going for $2 or $3, and it was even given away in a promo set, and nobody wanted it. And then Mewtwo and Tornadus came out, and the CMT deck was born, and that Celebi card became very, very good. Had I done one of these lists straight after Triumphant was released, it wouldn't have been in consideration. Now, if I go back and make a list in hindsight, it would definitely be on the short list, at least. Many decisions here were very, very close, so if you've got a slightly different list, that's absolutely fine. I don't mind that at all. And these are my list. So, yeah, there's going to be a few things. I've taken a few liberties. I've got a few personal choices in here. I would quite like it if you disagree, to be honest. All I ask is arguments in the comments, please. And if you are going to disagree, as I've said on my other top 10 videos, let's make sure, put a proper top 10 list in the comments. I would very much be interested to see yours. So, starting off with some honourable mentions, some cards which I like, which I think have potential and will see some play, but didn't quite make the top 10 list. And we start off with Hydreigon EX. If there's a stadium in play, Hydreigon gives all your dragon Pokemon a retreat cost of 2 less. Ironically, it does not give itself free retreat, but remember that this ability stacks, so if you've got 2 Hydreigon out, it basically gives everything free retreat. Useful in dragon decks, but unless you've got 2 out, it just becomes a catcher/Lysandra target, so that people can bring it active and you've got to waste an energy killing it. Or, sorry, waste an energy getting it out of the active. Otherwise, you're taking 2 of your 5 bench spots, assuming you're not playing Skyfield, just with a Pokemon to help you retreat. The attack's okay in a deck where you're struggling to take down Safeguard Pokemon. Also, Togekiss. I love Togekiss. It's the ability Serene Grace, which I like. You evolve it, look at the top 8 cards, choose any basic energy you find, and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. It's brilliant energy acceleration, and it's even got Delta Evolution, allowing you to evolve Togetic into Togekiss the second Togetic hits the field. Biggest problem, Togetic doesn't have Delta Evolution. Now, you can use a Wally, more on him later, to evolve Togepi into Togetic and then use Delta Evolution to evolve into Togekiss on the first turn of the game, but that's incredibly clunky. It's a card with an amazing ability that's just too difficult to actually get using. Gallade EX and Mega Gallade EX. People like Mega Gallade EX as a spread deck, doing 110 for free energy, 2 if you've got a Dimension Valley Stadium in play, and 30 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon that have any damage counters on it. And you can use cards like Spinder to do 10 damage to all of your opponent's Pokemon, or the Bats, Crobat and Golbat, to put some damage on the bench Pokemon before you hit them. With the amount of healing we've got, spread decks aren't very good. I'm not loving the Psychic weakness, for the time being at least. Cards like Mewtwo EX are a very easy counter to this. And I just don't think it's powerful enough or good enough. I think there are better Mega EXs out there. And all of the Mega EXs I've got on today's list, I think are much better than Mega Gallade EX. I'm putting these two together. These are the big fat dragon Pokemon. They're both stage 2s, they've both got 160 HP, and they've both got the potential to one-hit KO EXs for far too much energy. Dragonite can do 150 for 5, Salamence can do 170 for 4. They can both use double dragon energy and Reshiram to accelerate that, more on them later, but having to have 4 or 5 energy on a stage 2 Pokemon, it's a little bit overpriced. If, however, you can get to the situation where you can power these up quickly enough, they will have a very efficient prize trade with EXs. Let's not forget the Salamancer's got 2 pretty good attacks to start off with, and let's not forget that Dragonite has Delta Plus, meaning that if you take a KO with Dragonite, you get to take an extra prize. Stick a Muscle Band on him, 170 HP, and it will take 3 prizes against any 170 or lower EX. So let's start off with our list then. At number 10, we have Shedinja, and it is for that second attack, Hopeless Scream. 1 colourless energy, 50 damage, times the number of damage counters on this Pokemon. Now, he's only got 30 HP, although that can be improved with stuff like Giant Cloak. But what you want to do here, essentially, is play Mew EX. Mew EX has 120 HP. You would have a Frozen City Stadium in play. That means you take 20 damage when you attach an energy to a non-plasma Pokemon. You would use Rainbow Energy, which takes 10 damage when you put it on. And then that would basically mean you attach a Rainbow Energy to Mew, you take 30 damage. You then stick a Muscle Band on Mew, and you're doing 170 damage for 1 energy, potentially on your first turn of the game, though you would have to use Wally to evolve into Shedinja to make that happen. Cards like Frozen City we're expecting to rotate out soon, so maybe he's going to have a short shelf life, but I've got to sneak him on at number 10 just because I love the potential of this particular deck. At number 9, Winona. It's an amazing, amazing supporter, but only for colourless decks, and that's why it sneaks in at number 9 rather than being much higher. I love this card. If you're playing something like a Rayquaza EX deck, which with the recent banning of Lissandra's trump card is looking to get a lot better, you can use this to search for a Rayquaza and a Mega Rayquaza, evolve one into the other with Delta Evolution, and then you can get a Shaman as your third card, and then draw some more cards. It's useful for any deck because you can use it to draw multiple Shamans, and pretty much every deck is going to play multiple Shamans. But outside of that, you can only search for colourless Pokemon, and with Hooper coming in the next set, just allowing you to search for any free Pokemon with its ability, Winona's going to lose a little bit. I like it, but only in colourless decks. Coming in at number 8, Latios EX and Mega Latios EX. And I'm fairly sure I've got these guys in the wrong place. But the question is, are they too low or are they too high? They've both got potential. Latios EX can do 40 damage on the first turn of the game, even if you go first, for just 1 Psychic Energy. And you can have Muscle Band and Hypnotoxic Laser with a Burbank City Gym, etc. to do more damage to that. You can, in the format as it is at the moment, you can, if with a good draw, you can do 90 damage on turn 1. 40 damage, add 20 for Muscle Band, add 30 for Poison with Hypnotoxic Laser and Burbank City Gym. Now, there is a ridiculous deck you can play in Expanded or over in Japan, where you use a combination of Plus Power and Recycle. Plus Power adding 10 damage to your attack, Recycle adding a card to the top of your deck if you can flip a heads, to draw for your entire deck and Donkey X's. But that's not available in the standard format. Mega Latios EX has 1 attack, but again it's pretty good. You add a double Dragon Energy, or indeed any 2 energy, to your initial Psychic, and you can then snipe for 120 damage. Well, you don't have to snipe, you can do 120 to the active. Shaman is going to be played in pretty much every deck and has 110 HP, so you can use this to pick Shamans off the bench to your heart's content. And you discard 2 energy, but you can just play Double Dragon, which counts as 2 energy, and discard it straight away in order to KO the Shaman. Problem is, you don't want to be KOing bench Pokemon while they're KOing your attacker, and at the end of the day, 120 isn't really going to get you to victory all that quickly. It will win a lot of games, but there's too many bad matchups for me to put them any higher than number 8. I think there's a good deck going with this. The question is anyone going to figure it out? Coming in at number 7, Reshiram and Double Dragon Energy. And if it sounds like a cop-out for me putting them both in the same place, it kind of is, but, you know, my list. And what these 2 cards represent is energy acceleration for Dragon Pokemon. Reshiram allows you to attach a Fire Energy to any Dragon Pokemon as long as Reshiram's in the active. And don't forget, you can use cards like Switch and Floatstone to get multiple Reshirams in the active, or even use Hydreigon to give him free retreat. So you can attach multiple Fire Energy. And Double Dragon provides any 2 energy as long as it is attached to a dragon Pokemon. We've been saying, or at least I've been saying on my podcast PTCGRadio for some time now, that dragon Pokemon tend to have an awkward combination of energies. Look at Reshiram's Fire, Lightning, Colourless, and you saw earlier in this video that Dragonite and Salamence have similar things, and they tend to be very overpriced in their attacks. Takes too much energy to do them. Reshiram and Double Dragon Energy are fighting back against this. Coming in at number 6, Rayquaza and Mega Rayquaza. Now, this list was done before Lissandra's trump card was banned and pre-rotation. I believe this is correct at the moment. However, if we look back at this set in a year, and I am looking to do a range of videos looking back at past sets to do what the actual top 5 or top 10 cards was. If we look back in a year, this could well be too low. Clearly, it's all about the colourless one for the time being. They're both good. The colourless one's slightly better. Both of them get 1-hit KOs on EXs or anything. Now, the Dragon Pokemon, which I like a little bit less, does 300 damage for 5 energy, and you'll use Reshiram and Double Dragon Energy to get him rolling. Mega Rayquaza EX does 30 times the number of bench Pokemon you've got for 3 energy. You can use Double Colourless, you can use Mega Turbo to attach a basic energy from your discard pile, that card's coming up later, and you can use Skyfield, another card yet to come on this list, to do up to 240 damage for 3 energy, which is the most you'll ever need to do with a colourless Pokemon. Because if I remember correctly, I don't believe anything resists colourless in the current format. I'm going to focus on the colourless one because I think he's a bit better. But here's the problem. You don't really have an answer to Safeguard Pokemon, the Pokemon that resist attacks from EXs. You're very reliant on speed, so if you have a bad start, that can be a problem. You are very vulnerable to Enhanced Hammer and Crushing Hammer, trainer cards to get rid of your energy, and you've got a fairly glaring lightning weakness. Mega Rayquaza EX has got a better weakness and a more reliable form of acceleration in terms of Reshiram, but he takes more energy and is slower to get going, so I don't like him as good as a colourless one. I don't think the Dragon is ever going to be more than a fringe deck that some people have success with, but not the masses. I think colourless Rayquaza has the opportunity to be absolutely amazing in a different format. I think at the moment you've either got to go speed, at which point the weakness is a problem, and hammers are a problem, and safeguard Pokemon are a problem, or you've got to go for a slower, more teched out deck, which isn't fast enough to keep up. With Seismitoad decks being neutered by Lissandra's trump card being banned, see my previous video for more information about that, and with the format shifting over in a couple of months after Worlds, I think he could be a lot better. But right now, in the format we're in, I don't want to put him any higher than number 6. I've lumped Dragon Rayquaza in with him, but he's not quite as good. Number 5, here's where we really get rolling. Trainer's Mail. Now, this is the one change I made to my list after a couple of tournaments. Have a look at the videos from UK Nationals I'm going to be putting up on my channel in the near future. Trainer's Mail is awesome. It just makes your deck more consistent. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal a trainer card, put it into your hand. It allows you to search for cards if you really want that Spirit Link to evolve your Mega EX without having to end your turn. If you really need to go for a Hypnotoxic Laser or a Pokemon Catcher to win the game. If you don't have a supporter, etc. You can search for them with Trainer's Mail. With Lissandra's trump card being banned, decks can no longer recycle. When you've drawn your 60 cards, you lose. Well, you lose a turn after. So do bear in mind that this card has been slightly neutered by the ban of Lissandra's trump card. It's not as good as it was pre-ban, but it is still a consistency boosting card and they never go out of fashion. At number 4, Skyfield. Now this is another card, kind of like Winona, that really benefits this Rayquaza EX deck. The difference is it benefits lots of decks. There are decks like Raichu or Florges, where the more Florges EX, where the more Pokemon you have in play, the more damage you do. This helps with that. But it also helps with, we saw on a US stream recently from our Madison Regionals, we saw a player playing one of these Fairy Toolbox decks, relying around the Aromatisse, and they use Skyfield just to get a wider variety of Pokemon on their bench. This is a card that is going to stay in the format for a couple of years, and a lot of novel uses are going to be made of it, some that people haven't thought of yet, and some probably for cards that haven't even been released yet. Coming in at number 3, Wally. Now, I might have him too high, but he is a card that you can just see. I've already mentioned him a couple times on this video. He allows you to evolve a basic into a stage 1 the turn you put it down, or on the first turn of your game, or any other time. Essentially, if you've ever got a basic down, no matter what turn it is or how long it's been down, Wally allows you to evolve it into a stage 1. In the basic heavy format we've had for some time now, really relying around basic Pokemon, Wally gives stage 1 decks a chance to fight back. We are going to see cards like the Trevenant from X and Y that blocks trainers from your opponent when he's in the active. You are going to see turn 1 Trevenant completely crippling your opponent. We are going to see maybe Donphan decks being able to hit for decent damage on turn 1 of the game. I've already mentioned how it could be used with Shedinja, and there are plenty of stage 1s that haven't even been printed yet that are going to take advantage of Wally. Wally is a kind of card you are going to see in decks for the rest of the format until it's rotated out, and that's why it makes the top 3. As indeed are the second and first cards on this list. Coming in at number 2, Mega Turbo. Mega EXs are getting better, Pokemon are printing better ones, and they're all a little bit overpriced. Now, I'm not saying Mega Turbo is necessarily good for the game. You can make an argument that Mega EXs don't need any more help, which is weird because when they were first released, most of them were terrible and really did need a lot of help. It adds speed to a lot of decks, and it really can help. Think about Mega Latios we've already seen. Can't find a Double Dragon energy? Use Mega Turbo. Heck, if you've got no energy on it, Double Dragon plus a Mega Turbo and he's going. Colourless Rayquaza is so good because double Colourless and a Mega Turbo and he's going in one turn. It is, quite frankly, a card which opens up possibilities. And again, there are Mega EXs that haven't even come out yet, which are going to rely on this. The day I recorded this, Mega Tyranitar EX has been spoiled, I should say. 4 energy, brilliant attack, quite expensive, in comes Mega Turbo. And nobody should be surprised by the number 1 card in Roaring Skies, it's Shaymin. Of course it's Shaymin. And anyone that played when Uxie was released, when Uxie was legal, would have seen the Shaymin card when they first saw it. They would have thought, well, here's a card which is going to be amazing for years to come. It is going to be equivalent to, it's like a better Jirachi. Think of it like Juniper, in that some decks won't play it, but pretty much everyone will. Some decks won't play Juniper because they don't want to discard cards, but everybody else will. Same thing with Shaymin. Some decks will have a reason not to play it. Everybody else is going to play Shaymin. It is an amazing card. It allows you to draw up to 6 when you bench him, and it just adds speed and consistency. Again, it's a card that's been neutered a bit by the banning of Lissandra's trump card. You can't play 4 or 5 a turn, every turn draw through your deck and recycle it. But even so, everyone is going to want to be playing him. Everyone is going to want it in their deck, bar a few exceptions. And if you're not playing Shaymin, you are going to have to use cards like Wobbuffet and like Silent Lab to block people who are playing Shaymin. Because if you're not playing Shaymin and your opponent is, they're going to have a faster, more consistent deck than yours. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my top 10 cards from Roaring Skies. I say 10, it was clearly more than 10, but I wanted to talk about a lot of these cards just one more time. As always, make sure you like this video, make sure you subscribe if you haven't, and find a friend to subscribe if you already have. And make sure you check out my new videos coming in the very near future, including lots of rounds from UK Nationals. As always, arguments in the comment section, and please, if you're going to argue, I encourage you to do so, but give me your top 10 list while you're at it. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.